I think most people would consider New Zealand to be a really safe country to live in. We haven't got any snakes or spiders to worry about like our friends in Australia. We can all go to the doctor if we need to, and we're not involved in any sorts of wars or conflict. But as a country to work in, it's a completely different story. If you work in New Zealand, you are 3 to 4 times more likely to have an accident at work than your colleagues in the UK. And I'm not talking about minor stuff here either. I'm talking about serious accidents and fatalities. And every single day, we're putting our lives at risk working in some of the most dangerous workplaces in the OECD without even realizing it. And in an average week in New Zealand, 1 person is dying at work, and 15 people are dying from work-related illnesses and diseases. So these are people who have become sick from their jobs, and eventually it's gone on to take their life. That's almost 1,000 New Zealanders dying prematurely every single year. And these aren't just numbers. These are mums and dads, sons and daughters, and friends and spouses. And each one of them left behind a loving family, many of whom never even got the chance to say goodbye. And I know that there are a lot of things that happen in life that are completely out of our control. You know, things like bad weather or earthquakes, or the sorts of genes we inherit from our parents. But this is not one of those things, because every single workplace death and accident is preventable. And so the real tragedy here is not only that we lost these people, but that we didn't have to. Now, we all know that no talk on workplace health and safety is complete without at least one graph. So here's mine. And what this is showing us is that there's actually a group of people out there who are having more accidents at work than the rest of us. And that's our young people, those in that 15 to 24-year age group. And this is not something that's unique to New Zealand. Internationally, young people are overrepresented in these sorts of statistics and have some of the highest rates of accidents in workplaces all over the world. And as you can imagine, there are a number of reasons for why this is happening. So first of all, young people just haven't got the skills and experience to be able to make good decisions that will keep them safe at work. And normally, education should be enough to compensate for that. But in New Zealand, that's pretty much left up to the individual employers to provide, and there's no guarantee it's going to be delivered to any kind of standard. Then you've got the issue of the teenagers themselves, because this may actually be the worst possible time in someone's life to try and convince them of the merits of wearing high-vis and safety goggles. I mean, they're not exactly the most enthusiastic or engaged bunch at the best of times, but they're even less so when it comes to this kind of thing. And really, who can blame them? I mean, most adults don't even care about this kind of thing, and we actually understand the risk. Now, I want you to be completely honest with me here. How many of you died a little on the inside when you realized that my talk today was about workplace health and safety? Now, put yourselves in the shoes of a 17-year-old and try to answer that question again. Because the reality is that teenagers stopped thinking about this kind of thing a long time ago. And now they're thinking about different things. You know, they're at a stage in their lives where they're buying a car or moving out of home, maybe traveling overseas. They're becoming independent young adults. And the health and safety ship has well and truly sailed for these people. So how do we fix this? Well, it's complicated because there's something else going on here too behind the scenes, and it's not something that's just suddenly cropped up out of nowhere. Historically, we've never been great with health and safety. You know, it's one aspect of New Zealand life that continues to be an issue for us. And the general consensus is that our culture plays a big part in that. So what is our culture exactly? Well, we're resilient and hardworking. We're creative and resourceful, and we're more than happy to have a go at things. And it's that spirit that has led us to so much innovation and success in the arts and business, in science and technology and sport. But there are also parts of our culture that can create real problems for us when it comes to workplace health and safety. Things like our willingness to take risks, to try our luck, to make do, or to tough it out. All these things can create the sorts of conditions where accidents happen and people get hurt. Now, nobody is suggesting that we need to wrap everyone up in cotton wool and wear helmets inside for the rest of our lives. But we do need to realize that there is a big difference between being tough and being reckless. Because when we don't recognize that difference, the consequences can be absolutely heartbreaking. In 2010, 29 people, including a 17-year-old working on his very first shift, lost their lives in New Zealand's worst mining disaster since 1914. And in the months that followed, it really felt like the Pike River mining disaster had finally put workplace health and safety on the radar of the average New Zealander. And this tragedy became a real opportunity for us to draw a line in the sand and save countless lives in the future. And we have made some progress since. WorkSafe was established in 2013, then we got a new law a couple of years later. Unfortunately, though, we continue to hear stories in the news almost every other day of another farmer dying in a quad bike accident, or someone losing a hand at the meatworks or being crushed to death by a machine they were operating. And 7 years after Pike, New Zealanders are still being maimed and killed in the workplace at horrifying rates. Now, good laws and regulations are an essential part of dealing with this. There's no doubt about that. But you can't just legislate a problem like this away, because at the end of the day, the people who are actually doing the work are the ones who need to know how to keep themselves safe while they do it. And the law doesn't teach us how to do that. How can people be expected to participate effectively in something they don't understand? And so, if education is the key, but teenagers don't care, then we have to ask ourselves if some better alternatives might exist. What if that education started long before they got anywhere near a workplace, and not on their very first day on the job? A couple of years ago, I asked myself that very same question, and it led me to creating a project that I'd like to share with you all today. So the project is called When I Grow Up, and it's designed to teach 4 to 9-year-olds about very basic workplace health and safety. And the project was all funded by myself personally, so the team consisted of a grand total of 2 people, an illustrator from Wellington who I hired to draw the characters for the project, and myself who created all of the content and the website, which launched in February of last year. So on the website, anyone can go through and learn about 16 different occupations and 33 different items of PPE or health and safety concepts, as well as finding activities and worksheets that relate to each of the jobs that are featured on the site. And when I was thinking about which jobs to include in this project, I was thinking about things like how easy it was going to be to explain the different health and safety elements at a level that a 4 to 9-year-old could understand. But I was also thinking about what sorts of jobs these kids would naturally be really interested in at that age. So there's no telemarketer or hedge fund trader character. I've had to glaze over some of the realities of modern work just a little bit in the interests of keeping the little ones excited and engaged. And as you can see, girls and boys are equally represented, and there's a mix of ethnicities as well. So there's something for everyone on the site. So how does it work? Okay, well, if we have a look at the pilot character as an example, it shows us how we can talk about some of the less obvious elements of workplace health and safety without getting too deep and technical. So we've got sleep and rest to help her cope with the changing time zones and shift work, compression stockings to help prevent DVT, and water to help keep her hydrated so that she can concentrate and stay alert. And next, if we move across to the sailor character, it shows us some of the elements of workplace health and safety that are more visible to us when we see someone doing their job. And these are the sorts of things that will typically come to mind when people start thinking or talking about workplace health and safety in general. So we've got a hard hat to protect them from falling objects, a life jacket in case he falls overboard, and high-vis overalls to help his colleagues see him clearly. And one of the great things about engaging with kids at this age is that we're actually building on all of the other health and safety education that they're already receiving. Because these kids are having almost daily conversations with their parents and teachers about health and safety in general. So they're talking about road safety and fire safety and water safety. So they're already in that space. So it's not such a stretch for us to add on just a tiny little bit of extra education in the context of the workplace. And actually, it complements what's going on already and finally gives them a more complete picture of what health and safety really means. And considering the fact that a person will spend an average of a third of their life at work, it seems absolutely crazy to me that we spend almost zero time educating people on how to stay safe in that environment, particularly given the situation that we have here in New Zealand. And of course, one of the other great things about engaging with kids at this age is that, unlike the rest of us, they're actually super excited about the idea of being an adult and having a job. And I'm sure you can all remember a time in your own lives when you were really excited about something and how much more enjoyable the learning process was for you. Because when we're excited and when we're enthusiastic, we're more engaged. We pay attention, we listen, we learn, and most importantly, we remember. So this project can help us to address the issue of limited health and safety education, the difficulty of engaging with teenagers, and the cultural challenges that we face as a country when it comes to workplace health and safety. And over the last year and a half, the feedback that we've gotten has been really amazing. And the project will continue to grow and evolve over time as we figure out what works best and how we can reach as many people as possible with the project. The reality is, though, that this is not a silver bullet, but it is a step in the right direction, and it's a step that we all need to take together. So if you have children or other young people in your life, then please take the time to talk to them about the future. Use the site and the characters to help them understand that the workplace can be a high-risk environment with its own hazards, just like the kitchen, just like the road, and just like the sea. And when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, I know that each of them will have a different answer for you. And that answer will probably change over time. But no matter what they do end up doing in the future, I hope that we can send them off on their first day knowing that what they will be when they grow up is safe at work. Thank you.